What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Tuesday, January 23rd, 2024, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now, it is 3:34 p.m. Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from the Middle East, Asia, Europe, and here in the US. So I want to just start with US nuclear forces. They appear to continue to be on high alert. So what you're looking at here are three US nuclear war command and control planes up in the air. These are the Boeing E-6B Mercury Tacoma planes, and they're responsible for remotely launching all of our Minuteman III ICBMs and for communicating with our nuclear forces during a nuclear war if ground-based transmitters get wiped out. So they're very important planes. We have three of them up in the air right now this afternoon. And what's interesting is we also have a Cobra ball in the air over North Dakota, and these planes are responsible for detecting ballistic missiles and tracking their trajectories. So this is really interesting. Now, in North Dakota, we have our missile field over there. We have the 91st Missile Wing in Minot, which houses 1/3 of our land-based ICBMs. And here we have two of those nuclear war command and control planes. One of them was doing loops near Memphis and also over the Ozarks. And another one was doing loops off the coast of Sarasota. Okay. So U.S. nuclear forces are still on high alert. And last night we had a Cobra ball fly from Anchorage, Alaska towards Russia over the Bering Sea. And again, this is a plane used for detecting ballistic missile launches. And it flew towards Russia. And then shortly after it came back, here's when it was coming back. So very interesting. Maybe Russia's planning a nuclear test or a missile test soon. Remember, guys, Russia has pulled out of the nuclear test ban treaty. So that means they can now detonate nuclear weapons underwater and in the atmosphere. So it's possible that they may put a warhead on one of their missiles and detonate it in the atmosphere somewhere in space. I don't know, guys, but that's a very real possibility, or underwater. We also had a Russian VIP plane leave Kaliningrad last night, and I'm assuming that this was Putin's plane because he's supposed to be visiting Kaliningrad this week. And I can't remember the last time Putin visited Kaliningrad. Now, this area is the center of attention for NATO. It's in a very vulnerable area here. Russia wants to make a land corridor to Kaliningrad and basically cut off the Baltics from Poland through the Suwalki Gap. Okay, the Suwalki Gap is the new Fulda Gap, okay, of this era. It's a very critical area, and tensions here are very high. So I don't think it's a surprise that Putin is suddenly visiting Kaliningrad. And Estonia just announced a few days ago that they were going to build 600 bunkers along their border with Russia, guys. 600 bunkers, okay? Do you know how small Estonia is? Estonia is like the size of Rhode Island. Okay, imagine if Rhode Island built 600 bunkers along their border with Connecticut or Massachusetts. I mean, that's a lot of bunkers, guys. That's like every half a kilometer or so. Okay, I might actually do the math and check how long Russia's border is with Estonia in kilometers, and then divide it by 600 and see the distance between each bunker, because they don't have a huge border, guys. And all the Baltic countries agreed to build the Baltic Defense Line, which is basically going to be similar to the Maginot Line that France had in World War II, which Hitler actually bypassed. The Maginot Line was so well built that rather than going through it, Hitler just went around it. He went through Belgium, which is where the Maginot Line construction was not completed. So hopefully that doesn't happen here. But we also had those German documents that were leaked out and reported by German media about how Germany and NATO are anticipating Russia to make a big move on the Baltics this year, potentially the end of this year going into winter of next year. Okay, so late 2024, early 2025. And right now, NATO is doing massive drills. 90,000 troops have been deployed to Eastern Europe along the border with Russia from Norway all the way down to Romania, including places like Moldova and Sweden. And those countries are not officially a part of NATO, although I personally believe that Sweden and Moldova are unofficial NATO members. They're secret members. Okay, but 90,000 troops along the entire eastern flank of NATO, guys. This is very serious. Okay, the media is not talking about it much because they want you to focus on the record high of the stock market, and they want to take all your money, and this way all the Wall Street guys can make a big buck off of your hard work. And then when it all crashes, you'll lose everything, but they made everything off of your money. Okay, but that's what they want you to focus on. Okay, the Super Bowl, record high stock market, and the election. But meanwhile, we are on the verge of World War III, or we're actually in the beginning stages of World War III and possibly a nuclear war soon. And everybody's just going to be watching the Super Bowl while missiles start flying, okay? Because nobody's paying attention. They want you not to focus on this stuff because it's very serious, and they want all the sheep to not be panicked, okay? So get prepared, guys. Make sure you have food, water, self-defense, shelters, okay? A fallout shelter is really critical in these times we live in. But 90,000 troops to the border of Russia, very, very serious. And these NATO troops will be doing quote unquote exercises in Moldova. And in my opinion, most of these troops are probably going to stay there. This is a covert forward deployment. Okay, Russia has done this multiple times in recent years. Okay, right before they invaded Ukraine, they did it. They said it was just an exercise. Now NATO is taking a page out of Putin's playbook and doing the same thing. Okay, so something is about to go down, guys. U.S. nuclear forces are on high alert. And if you watched my last few videos, Russia has turned on their dead hand system, which is basically like a Russian Skynet. Okay, this is a Russian computer algorithm that can detect nuclear blasts on Russian soil and then auto launch Russian nuclear weapons at pre planned targets if the computer determines that no human beings have launched a retaliatory strike, or if all human beings in the high command of the Russian military have been eliminated. So, this is very concerning that Russia suddenly turned this system on. It hasn't been turned on since 1991 during the fall of the USSR and the breakup of the Warsaw Pact. Okay, so since 1991, the perimeter dead hand system has not been turned on. Now, this perimeter system basically lies in a semi-dormant state, and when there's a time of crisis, that's when the Russians turn it on. Okay, and it's activated. So that means Russia considers the time we're in now as a time of crisis. And what you're looking at here is a U.S. Air Force combat sentry plane that was flying over eastern Texas last night. And the U.S. Air Force only has two of these. And these planes provide reconnaissance to the U.S. chiefs of staff and the president. So it's a high priority reconnaissance plane. It was probably just doing some calibration loops over here. And this update was sponsored by Patriot Supply. Guys, they have brought back their 25% discount on their 3-month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to go to preparewithnyprepper.com. The link is in the description below this video. But this 3-month emergency food supply is freeze dried, so it has a 25-year shelf life, and it's all contained within 6 rugged water resistant buckets, and free shipping is included. So again, use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get 25% off of the My Patriot Supply 3-month emergency food supply. It's really a no-brainer. 25-year shelf life. You don't have to worry about your food preps going bad. You don't have to worry about rotating anything. And it's all contained within 6 buckets. So you can find the space to store 6 buckets, guys. And they also have a general store. If you click on the My Patriot Supply logo at the top of the page, when you get to preparewithnyprepper.com, you can access their general store, and they have all kinds of prepping and survival items for sale. They have MREs, they have survival seeds, they have potassium iodide, they have survival bars. So check it out, preparewithnyprepper.com, to get 25% off of the My Patriot Supply 3-month emergency food supply, and the link is in the description below this video. And the U.S. Air Force is conducting a massive exercise at Nellis Air Force Base with the Australian Air Force and the British Air Force. And Australia has brought their F-35s, and the UK has brought their Typhoons, and they're going to be doing joint exercises. Okay, this exercise is known as Red Flag 24-1. Now, there's been a lot of skeptics out there watching my videos saying that all these nuclear warplanes I've been reporting in the air the last few days are part of this exercise, and that cannot be further from the truth. Okay, Red Flag is separate from U.S. nuclear forces. Okay, that is something totally different. So there's no correlation there. We have the NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg saying that NATO is going to spend over $1 billion on hundreds of thousands of artillery shells, 155 millimeter artillery shells. So use your common sense, guys. Okay, connect the dots. All right. Russia activates their dead hand system. Putin goes to Kaliningrad. NATO, 90,000 troops going to the eastern part of NATO, doing exercises. Now, the head of NATO is saying they're going to be purchasing hundreds of thousands of artillery shells. German classified document released saying that Russia's planning an attack on the Baltics the end of the year. Okay, so connect the dots, guys. Things are really escalating. Let me play this for you.
Just concluded contracts worth 1.2 billion US dollars to buy hundreds of thousands of rounds of 155 millimeter artillery ammunition. This demonstrates that NATO's tried and tested structure.
Let me play that for you guys again.
1.2 billion US dollars to buy hundreds of thousands of rounds of 155 millimeter artillery ammunition.
$1.2 billion to buy hundreds of thousands of 155 millimeter artillery shells, guys. Ukraine does not need that many artillery shells. That's not for Ukraine. That's for NATO. Okay, NATO is replenishing their stocks, and they're also preparing for a possible showdown with Russia. Okay, here we have the headline from Reuters from a few days ago. NATO to hold biggest drills since the Cold War with 90,000 troops. And here's a picture of some of these NATO forces training in northeastern Poland, close to Kaliningrad and Belarus. They're practicing a river crossing here near the Suwalki Gap, because that part of Poland and that part of Eastern Europe, there's a lot of rivers, there's a lot of swamps. It's a very flat and boggy area. So they have to practice crossing these rivers. If NATO wants to help Lithuania or help Poland, they have to move all their forces through this boggy riverine terrain. Okay, I want to just play this video again for you guys of this perimeter dead hand system signal that has been broadcasting since 2 days ago on dozens of frequencies worldwide. You can actually tune in and listen to this frequency. The best frequency for me is 7,000 kilohertz, but it's anywhere from 5,800 kilohertz all the way up to 13,000 kilohertz in 1,200 kilohertz intervals. Okay. And some of the signals have been really strong in Eastern Europe and also coming out of Russia. So, a lot of amateur radio experts are saying that this signal is coming from northwestern Russia, which happens to be where the Russian buzzer is located. And that's where the Russian Western Military District is. And they're responsible for most of Russia's nuclear forces. So this guy is just going through all the different frequencies, and you can hear that ticking noise. And what a lot of people think is that ticking noise is basically just the system letting you know that it's armed, sort of like when you turn your car alarm on and you see that blinking red light. And a lot of people have been saying that this was related to the Russian Woodpecker or the Duga array in Chernobyl, but that is something totally different. The Russian Woodpecker, it was from an over the horizon radar that operated near Chernobyl, and it is now defunct. You can go there and climb up to the top of these radar arrays, but that was just a long range radar that has been shut down for decades. So it's not related to that. I want to just play this video for you of Lavrov speaking to a reporter from CBS, and she asked him if Trump would change relations with Russia, and he basically says no. So let's just listen in.
Do you think there is a shift that would come if President Trump were elected?
I don't believe that there is any difference, because the drive to ruin the Russian-American relations, the foundation of these relations, including the all agreements on strategic stability, parity, mutual trust, inspections, transparency, and so on and so, confidence building. All this started to be ruined by President Bush Jr. when he told President Putin, you know, I am dropping from the ABM treaty, from anti-ballistic missile treaty.
And there's no return to these treaties.
Superiority complex, impunity complex is getting too deep. Those who ignored huge amount of goodwill shown by Putin during his first 2 terms, who just said, okay, this guy is so nice, we will keep him in our pocket. Those who miscalculated everything, they must rethink. Instead, we see the current generation of politicians in the United States having drawn no single lesson from that unacceptable policies which the United States started to promote after the demise of the Soviet Union.
So let's just listen to the beginning again.
I think there is a shift that would come if President Trump were elected.
I don't believe that there is any difference.
Okay, so he doesn't think that there's going to be any change if Trump were to get elected. And that doesn't surprise me. I don't think anything's going to change with that. We had another incident in the Red Sea today. Apparently, the British Maritime Organization received reports of drone activity near the Bab al-Mandeb Strait, and there are unconfirmed reports right now that apparently the U.S. may have launched some type of operation in Iraq and Syria. We have reports from Iraqi sources saying that some facilities of Iranian-backed militias were targeted by missiles in the al-Bukamal area of eastern Syria bordering Iraq. Apparently, at least 15 missiles were launched at the facility today, and this could have been a response by the U.S. to recent ATTACKS by the Islamic resistance in Iraq on U.S. military bases in the region. So the U.S. potentially may have hit some Iranian proxies today, at least 15 missiles reportedly targeting these facilities. And apparently, an unknown aircraft launched an air raid on an Iran-affiliated truck coming from Iraq into Syria. The air raid happened this morning in the Sukkariya area in eastern Syria near al-Bukamal. Okay, so potentially some type of U.S. operation in eastern Syria and Iraq. And we also have some breaking news coming in from that region that apparently another ATTACK has occurred on a U.S. military base. It occurred at the Al-Assad base, and the Islamic resistance in Iraq is claiming responsibility. And apparently the U.S. destroyed or degraded over 25 Houthi missile launch facilities and more than 20 missiles in Yemen since it started military operations in the country Earlier this month, the Pentagon says, and Yemen's Iran-backed Houthi rebels have ordered all U.S. and British staff of the UN and its agencies to leave the country within a month, a UN official tells AFP News. In a letter dated January 20 and shared on social media, the authorities in the Houthi-controlled capital Sana'a told the UN resident coordinator that employees with British and U.S. nationality had 1 month to prepare to leave the country. They must be ready to leave as soon as the deadline expires, the document said. A UN official confirmed to AFP News that they had received the memo. The UN and its partners have taken note of this and are waiting to see what are the next steps, said the official, who asked to remain anonymous. Okay, so very, very concerning, guys. The Houthis are asking British and American officials working for the UN to leave Yemen immediately. And here we have the pictures of the two U.S. Navy SEALs that were lost at sea in the Gulf of Aden. Naval Special Warfare Operator First Class Christopher Chambers, 37 years old, on the left, and Navy Special Warfare Operator Second Class Nathan Ingram, 27, on the right. Very sad situation. Keep their families in your prayers. And that's pretty much it for this one, guys. I'll be back later on this evening with more breaking news, so make sure you're subscribed. Hit the bell icon below so you get notified when I post these updates. And I will be announcing the winners of the 100,000 subscriber giveaway tomorrow in a video. So make sure you tune in. And until later this evening, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.